Hi guys, how you going? Welcome back to the channel, or if you're new, welcome. So today we're taking on another job at the rear of the Pajero, and we're taking on the handbrakes today. So we've, last time I had the rear tyres off and I was doing the rear CVs, and you can actually go back to the channel, there's videos on how you do rear CV boots. I noticed the handbrake pads were quite worn, and as a result, express parts from Dubai, I ordered some new park brake shoes. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to take you through the entire process, how to safely remove the handbrake shoes, all the various different tools you need, and you actually don't need many tools. We'll go through all the tips for a nice smooth install. Now this can be done with one person, but there's a period towards the end where an extra pair of hands would be handy. So again, if you want to grab one of your kids or your partner or whatever with that extra pair of hands, it will just help out. And we'll also go through the handbrake adjustments as well. So there's handbrake adjustments which are done at the wheel itself, and then handbrake adjustments done at the front at the actual handbrake. So we'll take you through all that process as well. And then at the very end of the video, we'll take you through this crucial tip in relation to bedding the handbrake shoes in so they don't excessively wear. All right, let's get started. All right guys, so as per usual, safety, safety, safety. So what we've done first step in the process is we're going to jack up the vehicle. Now I've got the big trolley jack there, but I've also got the trolley stands in. And also very, very crucial is you need to chock up the front wheels on both sides, because we do have to actually take the handbrake off in order to get this job done. So we don't want the car moving anywhere. Make sure it's on a flat surface. And also when you take the tyres off, make sure you throw them underneath. All right, so we've got the bearded man with me today. And yeah, let's get started. So do we reckon Lionel will make it to the F1 pit crew? I reckon. All right, so when we take off the tyre, just pop it underneath, just in case, an extra level of safety before we take it off. All right guys, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up on the screen for you. So what I'm going to be showing you is a variety of technical drawings, plus the actual parts on the vehicle, as well as extracts from the Mitsubishi service manuals, okay? So you're going to get a total and complete overview of everything, especially if you're not familiar with a lot of these parts and these terms. We'll go through it nice and slowly and evenly. And we're dealing with the brake assembly calipers, the brake caliper itself. We're talking park brake shoes. We've also got the discs. And then what we'll do is, as we're going through it, we'll show you all the other little bits and pieces along the way. All right, so first up, to get started, we need to make sure that the handbrake is released inside the vehicle, make sure the chocks are in on the tyres, and we're going to remove the brake caliper. We need a ratchet with a 17mm socket, and there's 2 bolts on the back, and we're going to take these off now. All right, so there's one up the top there. Going underneath. Alright guys, so here's a bit of a look from underneath. That's the bottom one. And we're going to remove these bolts totally. And there's the bolt at the top. You can see that Lionel's already removed. Now be very careful when you remove these 2 bolts, because you don't want to drop the brake caliper assembly, because it's connected to the brake line. Now in our instance, we need to be careful because we've got an aftermarket airbags installed, and we've actually cable tied the airline to the brake caliper. So we may have to actually, I will move that up. There we go. We've got a bit of play in the line, and then we're going to lift the caliper off, and we're going to sit this up above. So now with the brake caliper, what we do is we just sit this up on the upper control arm. Now, if you like, just for a little bit of added extra safety, again, we've done this a few times now, if you want, you can cable tie it up there, just in case it drops. Because the crucial part is you don't want to put any strain or damage the actual brake line. All right, so let's move to the next step. Now, we're going to make quite a bit of mess, potentially getting this stuff out. So just get a little bit of a cardboard tray popping underneath to catch all the dirt and grime. Now, what we have to do now that the caliper's been removed, what we need to do is actually remove the disc itself. Now, in many instances, sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to come off. Sometimes it can be very easy. One of the main things though is you need to make sure that the handbrake is off first of all. And then what we're going to do, we're going to start to take the disc off and see if it comes off nice and easy or whether it needs a bit of persuasion. There you go, nice and easy. Now, if for whatever reason it was a little bit difficult, you can tap around the outside of the actual disc itself with a rubber mallet, or you may need a metal one depending on how hard it is on there. There are also two little 8mm holes here which take M8 bolts, and what you can do is you can actually put bolts and screw them into it, and that will put pressure up against the wheel bearing and it will actually then slide forward. But that's only if you need to. Otherwise, simply giving it the tap around the outside, it generally is sufficient to take it off. Alright, well, let's now have a look inside. Alright guys, so what we've got here is now the park brake assembly. Now, there's a few things here which I'll just label for you and let you know, but we're not going to be touching them today. So we've got the wheel bearing here, we've got the wheel bearing cap, we've got the wheel stud nut which is actually connected to the CV behind it. So, but in this instance, we're not going to be touching the wheel bearing or the wheel bearing nut in any way, shape or form. What we're going to be doing is focusing on removing these pads here. And what we'll do is we'll take you through the process step by step. This is where you need to be very, very careful. If you you can rely on this video as a reference to come back to, but otherwise what you could also do is take a few photos in particular of the positioning of these springs. These springs are not universal. One spring is for one side, the other spring is for the other side. You need to be very, very particular about that. There's a special device in behind here, which goes in only one particular way. And there's also another one at the bottom, which only goes in one particular way. So we need to be very, very mindful. All right, so first up, what we're going to do is give it a bit of a clean with some brake cleaner.
That'll do for now. So we can see those springs.
Alright, so the first step in the process now is we're actually going to pull apart these springs. We just need some needle nose pliers or some multi-grips. Now, depending on how strong you are, these are extremely difficult to get off. I found that using multi-grips is probably the best way to do it. But again, you'll find your own method in particular. Yep. Whoop, down a bit. There you go. Jeez. That one was easier than normal. Beautiful. So make sure what you do with these springs is set one on the right hand side of the vehicle and one on the left hand side of the vehicle, so there's no confusion as to which side they belong to. Next step in the process is we need to remove, there's a pin on this side and a pin on the other side. What you got to do is grab the pin in the direction where it's sitting. You need to push it in and then rotate it 90 degrees. So push and then turn. And then the clip it's on will pop off. Okay? These clips are universal, they're the same clip for both sides. It's the same process on both sides. Push, rotate 90 degrees. Okay? Now these pins themselves, if the pins drop out, don't worry about it. They're a little bit fiddly to get in. and you push them in from behind the park brake assembly. But like I said, both these pins are exactly the same. All right, so next step in the process, we've got the springs lined up on both sides. Now, be mindful when you take these two apart, be mindful of this and the direction that the spring is facing. We'll pop that up there for the moment. And then on the bottom as well, we need to make sure, and we focus on this, that the way you take it out is the way it goes back. So what Lionel will do is he'll open them up, and then we'll take this out. One side is slightly longer than this side. So on this side of the vehicle, it's facing the front of the car. So we'll be mindful of that also. And we'll clean up all these parts. And then also with these shoes, be mindful where you've got the spring on the bottom here, but be mindful of this is the next step in the process. We need to remove this pin, and then what that'll do is it'll separate these brake shoes away from this arm, which is connected to a cable, and this cable is what's actually connected to the handbrake up the front. All right, we'll show you through the next step now. All right. All right, so we've just removed the spring on the bottom. Now the spring that's on the bottom is universal in that it can go either way, left or right. All right, so this next step, what we're going to do, we're going to actually open it up, and when it opens, it will actually stay open, and then we're going to close it later on. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to use a screwdriver first up. Start with the small one. Now the metal itself is quite sort of softish. I'll go this way actually. If anyone's got a better way of doing this, let us know. So we're pushing this hard up against the bearing. So it's slightly opening up. Now this way. Now we'll get a normal set of pliers. And then what we'll do is we will put it like this and push. Just like so. And the last step in the process, alright guys, so that's it. And that's what it looks like. And then what's going to happen is when we slide this back on later, it'll be easy to slide on, and then we'll actually press on this and close it up. Yep, beautiful. So we'll show that it actually takes about 2 seconds, yeah, because it's, you know, we're super experts.
One. Leave that one on there.
Just fell off, I think.
Yep. It did too.
That's that.
So you got to hold the pin, push, and then you got to twist it one way. Yep. And then these things. That's it. That comes off. Yep. Then disconnect the adjuster mechanism and handbrake lever from the shoe. So there's a mechanism here and there's a mechanism at the bottom. So be careful.
Yep.
And that's actually then connected to the cables.
So there's little springs and stuff, but we'll leave that because it'll show us how to put it back together. This one's got a clip on it. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
And that arm should just fall off. There we go.
Okay.
The spring's at the back.
Okay.
And that arm is at the top.
So that goes like that. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Cool. Now
The spring at the
new
back.
ones.
Yep.
Fix that.
Alrighty, so now we're going to do a bit of cleaning. Get everything all cleaned up. Get the brake cleaner out. Before we proceed to the next step. So as you can see, it's not that difficult a job. It's a little bit, you just got to make sure, again, keep this video as a reference. If you have this nearby, you won't go wrong. It's a little bit of a dirty job. Have yourself a brush ready to clean up all the grime. Because what here, you've got a combination of brake dust and dirt and mud and grease. You've got all sorts of happening in here. So be very, very mindful, give it all a really, really good clean before you go and attempt to put anything back together. This brake cleaner stuff is amazing.
Yeah.
Now these are those little pins I was telling you about, and these little clips. So like I said, these, it doesn't matter which side they come up from. So this is the pin that goes through the back of the brake assembly and then through the brake shoe. And then once this pops through the front of the brake shoe, so you push it through at that angle, and then you push this pin back, you push this clip back, rotate it, and then it locks in place. That's the whole idea. And you've got one on each side. And this little clip, again, it can deform. If when you open it up, it deforms, pop it on the concrete or something flat and metal, tap it with a hammer just to get it nice and flat back again before you put it back on and then close it up. Okay? My favourite word. Okay. Okay. I have to cut it out, like, I reckon, 200 times. I think I might have left a couple in there, but fuck me. Alright guys, so we've cleaned up everything now, and now the next step in the process is to now get the new brake shoes and reassemble. Now, one of the things I wanted to point out, so again, this is one of those pins here I was referring to. So what happens is, if this actually falls out, it simply gets pushed in from behind on this side and then similar on the other side. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult, so there you go, it's just been pulled out. This one's actually a little bent. We'll straighten this one up. Now, one of the things I wanted to point out is we're going to need some grease. Now, I'm just using this high temperature wheel bearing grease, which I used for when I did my wheel bearings. Now what happens is the shoes have 3 contact points on the actual wheel assembly. There's 1 contact point here, 2 contact point here, and then a 3rd contact point here. This is on one side of the assembly, and there's another 3 on the other side of the assembly. And what happens is the back of the park brake shoes end up rubbing a little bit back and forward on this, and this is what causes squeaking. So what's important is that you actually grease these. Okay, now I would not suggest greasing these before you put the brake shoes on. Grease them afterwards, or else it just gets a little bit messy. All right, guys, let's get the pads out. We'll start putting these in. And in this instance, I've opted to go genuine. Again, it's up to you. I get all my parts from Parts OUQ from Dubai. Now, these here we've got is 2 shoes. They come in 2 pairs. So we've already done the other side. So the important thing to note is that you need to be very specific as to basically what shoes go on what side. Now in particular, this is the pin you need to look out for. All right, so what's going to happen is the brake shoe on the other side does not have this pin in it. And if we rotate it around the other way, you see here, and then on the other one, they're totally different. Alright guys, so as you can see here, I've moved back to the other side of the vehicle, and as you can see, you've got the parking lever there, which I'm adding the clip to at the moment, pin that's attached to the actual brake shoe itself. For simplicity, again, take a photo, take a video, or reference back to this video itself. And now with the brake shoes attached, you can see the pin is on the right hand side of the brake assembly, on the top right hand corner of the brake shoe. So this is what I'm referring to. And what we'll do now is we'll then quickly go back to the other side and you'll see what I'm talking about. So be very mindful, you just make sure you match these up with the existing shoes you've taken out. And another thing to note is with the part numbers, and on this one in particular, this one says 4K01 and this one says 4K07. So they're different part numbers because the shoe on the other side does not have this pin in it. All right, so as long as they match up with the existing ones, you'll be fine. And they can only go in one way basically. If you put it in the wrong way, it won't go back together. All right, stick it back together. All right guys, so we're going to slide this little U-pin on, just like so. Okay, it goes on pretty nice and easy. And then to close it up, we'll just use the same set of pliers and we're going to close it up. And it's that simple. All right guys, so now this is where you kind of need 2 people. Now what we're going to do is we're going to apply the spring on the bottom here. So it hooks in on the bottom, as you can see there. We've got the opposing side. We're going to hook up the spring as well. Now I'm just going to get a bit of a close up on that. Okay guys, so you can see there clearly, that's how that bottom spring goes in. So this is where 2 pairs of hand would be great. Now,
grease.
Okay, so what we're going to do now with this next part is we're going to pull it apart and just grease it up a little bit. Not too much, or else it just makes it easier.
I've already cleaned it.
Okay, so we're going to pull this apart. We're going to apply a bit of grease around here. And we'll pop some of the excess grease inside. Again, it doesn't have to be excessive. Okay, and then make sure this goes in the right way.
I'm going to close it up.
And then also close this up all the way. It just makes it easy because now you've got a lot of meat on the shoes. Otherwise, what's going to happen is it's going to be impossible to actually get the discs back on. All right, so we'll put this little device in the bottom there. Now, all right, next step of the process is we've got to get these pins in. Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit finicky. So you almost put your finger behind the back of the pin and then try and line it up.
try and line the top up. So now you got pins in on both sides, right? Now you got to get these. Oh, you got to get that adjuster in there next. So we got this. Slide this one in now. Make sure the spring's facing the correct side. And this is the fun bit when you drop stuff. Pop that side in first. Yeah, that's it. All right. What the hell? This is where the frustration begins. Line it back up again. Every time I move it.
All right, let's put.
Okay, so let's put this one on. Yeah, so let's pop this clip on first. This might be the key. So line the clip up. Other way. So it doesn't matter which way you start it, just as long as you get that 90-degree turn. So nose pliers, we've got to push it in, and then this has to go back. Okay.
Can you get your clip on now?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's only because that one's bent.
Alright, guys. So get it all lined up, and then push. Lined up. Push. This, move this. That's and turn.
All right, that's in.
There we go. Whew. Is it facing the right way? Yeah. Line the bottom up. So this might be the key, guys, putting that pin in on one side first, getting the bottom in next. Right. You need to do it, okay. Pop this piece in next. And I'll try and hold it this time. Oh, lift it a bit higher. Yep. I wonder if the pins should be done last. Sorry,
First.
should the springs be done first? Yeah, maybe not. That's it. Because if that spring was on, it would hold it in place.
Correct. Oh, yeah, but it might pull it
Yeah.
to the wrong spot.
This is in the wrong position. You need a bit more room. Alright guys, just to explain and go through everything, we've got the brake pads in the right position, we've got the spring across the bottom, okay? What we did was we put this pin in first, okay? Don't forget, you can put your fingers in just behind to hold the pin from the back, then use your nose pliers to go in, and then basically you push this forward, rotate it 90 degrees, and that locks that in place, okay? Then the adjuster pin across the bottom, make sure that's in, close this up, this centering arm, pop this in next, hold this in place, okay? And then fiddle around with the other pin. Same thing, you can put your finger at the back to hold the pin, and then basically push in, click, turn. And now the next thing is, let's apply these springs. All right, let's go. And remember, these springs are super, super difficult because of how taut they are. All right, so there's a slightly different technique with this one. You got to use your screwdriver.
All right, this is the spring.
Put this in first.
Yep.
Come forward a bit. It's not in front. It's not in front. Let's go. Is it right? That's it. That pin's in, yeah? And the clip?
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, so hook on your spring. So we use the screwdriver to pull it across. So you don't use the multis this time, and it will slide on. Pull your screwdriver out. Too easy. So getting it on actually isn't so bad.
That's it.
So the next step in the process is we need to apply some grease behind this brake pad. So hit those. Again, if you can pull it out a fraction, just to get the grease behind it. That's it, and we'll do the other side. And these are just these friction points because the actual park brake pads sit up against hard on the assembly, and these will just, again, when you're applying the handbrake, these will just move forwards and backwards slightly on these points. And we're going to sand out basically the center of the drums. So Lionel's already done this. So you just get some sandpaper, and just like Lionel's wiping around the inside, you just basically apply sandpaper and give the inside a light sand just to smooth it all out. And then when you're finished, get rid of all that metal dust. And yeah, and now that's ready to apply back on. And in this instance, all right guys, so before you put the discs back in, these discs are ventilated. So you've got grooves through the center of the discs to help with cooling. But again, over a period of time, they get bunged up with dirt and mud and so forth. So make sure before you put your discs back in, spend a bit of time. It's a bit of a thankless, painful task, but spend some time actually cleaning out all the mud.
It helps prevent hot spots.
Yep. Just a screwdriver, get in there, give it a tap. And don't forget, a lot of this mud is going to be literally baked into the discs. So it's going to be a little painful, but definitely worthwhile long time. You don't want to end up having these hot spots and warping your discs. All right, Lionel rig comes to back to action. How ingenious is this, mate? Nice and quick and easy. Gets all the crap out. Just use a bit of an old drill bit.
This could be like brand new. Look at all that red earth, mate. That's Central Australia. That's Big Red. That's last year's trip. I'll have to put all that dirt in a jar. Maybe I can maybe I can sell it online. All sorts of weird shit they sell online these days. With a baked-in red earth from Central Australia. What do you think, guys? Let us know in the comments. All right. So now there's a rubber grommet on the front there. That's for the adjuster. We're going to remove that, and we'll show you here. Now, what you've got to make sure is that rubber grommet you've taken out, that hole for that rubber grommet, you make sure you line up and put it back on in front of the adjuster. So what's really important is you make sure you spin this into a point, so when you put the disc on, that the actual adjuster hole lines up where the adjuster is on the actual park brake assembly. Because what's going to happen is these shoes, because they're full of meat, they're potentially going to grip on really hard, and you need to make sure that the adjuster has been fully closed. Okay, very important, or else it could be a challenge to get on. We did the other side, that was a bit of a challenge. I think this side should be actually quite easy, hopefully. All right, let's pop her on. There you go. Now we've got a rubber mallet. So we've lined them up. Now we're just going to systematically work our way around and tap it back on.
Alright guys, now if for whatever reason you cannot get it on, you need to go inside to the vehicle and release the tension from the handbrake adjustment nut underneath the console. Okay, so that's what you'll need to do.
Perfect. Now if you find if we try and see if there's any play, if we move that from left to right, we'll see if there's any sufficient play. Okay, so that's quite firm. So what we're going to have to do now is we're going to have to go up to the front of the vehicle and adjust the cable. And then what's going to happen is when we adjust that cable, that's going to take the pressure off the pad and actually close the pad in, so it's not actually pressing it up against the inside of the drum of the disc there. So that'll be the next step. Let's go inside and have a look. Alright guys, so now what I'll do is I'll open this up and show you how to get to the adjuster. So the way this basically comes out the center console is there are two clips here. It's very important you grab here and pull backwards. That's simple, okay? And then with these two clips, they run in a different direction. Pull from the side. And gently there. And that's what the clips look like underneath, okay? So make sure you got all these four clips there. And then you've got clear access to your adjuster. All right guys, God knows what we're going to find down in here. It could be hundreds of dollars. All right, so what you have to do now is, in order to loosen the cable enough to bring the shoes in closer, right, is you need to adjust this nut here. So that's on your handbrake cable. Now the way it works is towards the driver is loose and away from the driver is tight. So driver is loose, passenger is tight. Driver is loose, passenger is tight. Okay, so in our instance what we want to do is we want to loosen. Okay, so remember, driver is loose, so we want to keep turning this,
right, until we get enough slack in the drums of the discs in the rear that we can get some movement happening. So that's the key with this step. And then for future adjustments, if you want to do future adjustments as the brake shoes wear, then you can do it at this point here. And then this will make it nice and easy for you next time around. As long as you get it set the first time correctly on both sides, you'll be fine. All right, let's go back to the rear wheel. Okay guys, so what we're doing now, right, is we've just finished adjusting the handbrake from inside the vehicle so that the actual brake shoes, okay, and the brake discs now move freely a little bit left and right. So we've just finished that process. Now
you scroll the adjuster up.
Yep.
Until this disc doesn't move.
Okay. All right. The drum now won't spin because it's hard. Now what we're going to do is we're going to release it. We're going to do 3 turns and we're going to push down 3 turns.
1, 2, 3.
And we should now have a bit of play.
We go one more.
So we go one more. So it's not a precise, okay, science.
That's it.
Okay. So now you can see that the handbrake's not engaged. And mind you, in the car, the handbrake is still off. So now the next step in the process is we're going to put the rubber grommet back in. We're going to put the brake calipers back on. And then we're going to go for a drive and then do the next little fine adjustments. And then the next adjustments might be a combination, hopefully it's just a combination of just adjusting the actual handbrake internal itself.
Correct.
Because these on both sides should be in exactly the same position thereabouts. Alright guys, so that's pretty much it for the park brake. Let's put the calipers back on and yeah, let's go for a drive. Alright guys, brake calipers are back on. Just give it a last little wipe, just with the grease and that. We don't want any grease on the discs and stuff like that. Make sure the metal surround, you bend that back into place because it's a little bit flimsy. And make sure everything is obviously tightened up to torque settings. Let's throw on the tyre and go for a bit of a test drive. On you BF Woodrich all-terrains, KO3s. Love them. I've had them all the way from KO1s to KO2s to KO3s. Alright guys, so let's go for a bit of a test drive after all that work. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through the next process. So one of the things now that we're in the vehicle, we've made the adjustments here, the cable. We've made the adjustments at the rear wheels at both of them. So both of them have been adjusted in the same manner, okay? So what we're going to do now is, as per the specs, it states that you need to pull up with 200 Newton meters of force and to try and achieve that optimum 6 to 7 clicks or 6 to 7 notches position. I don't have anything that can measure 200 Newton meters of force, so I'm just going to go and just pull it up. As long as it's not, you know, super tight. And again, we'll see how the adjustments go from there, basically. So again, the handbrake is currently off. Again, I got the vehicle in park at the moment. Okay, I'm on a flat surface. So I'm going to pull it up and listen for the clicks. Hopefully you can hear them. Actually, I'll take the microphone off and take it down there. Okay, so it gets to that 6 clicks. Okay, for me, there's look, a little bit of force there, probably more than I'm used to. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to go back and make any drastic adjustments. It hits the standard value, and the standard value is between 6 and 7 notches. Okay. So let's go for a little bit of a drive and let's see if we can hear some squeaking and whatnot. Now the thing is also, you've got to be mindful of that. I've actually just, whilst I did the handbrakes, I actually put new brake pads in as well because they were due. Now, one of the things you've got to make sure too is that when you put new brake pads in, you've got to make sure you grease the pins. Now, I noticed actually on this side of the vehicle, the pins were pretty badly gunked up. All right, we ended up having to pull the pins apart. We had to clean the rubbers out. We had to clean up all the pins, re-grease them, put them back in. And on the other side, the pads actually went in easy, so we didn't actually re-grease the pins on that side. So I'm hoping that's not going to cause any squeaking. So this is where you've got to determine whether or not it's actually, because we've put new brake pads in at the same time as what we've done the park brakes, is it actually the brake pads or is it actually the park brake shoes? All right, so let's go for a drive and see how we go. Okay, handbrake off. Let's go. All right, no squeaking, no noises. Applied brakes, no squeaking, no noises. Let's go for a bit of a drive. I'm going to go around the circuit here because we've got lots of sort of stopping and starting. No squeaking, no noise. Feels good. It's braking smoothly. Again, no squeaking, no noise. Alright, so everything seems to be going really well. What I'll do now is I'll find a place that's got a bit of a slope and then we'll apply the handbrake on the slope and then see if it engages properly. I can already tell when I put the handbrake on before, where I actually parked the car, there's a slight slope and it didn't budge. It was really good. And the main reason, one, when I was doing the CV boots, I could see one side of the pad was almost down, super low. All right, let's go find that slope and let's see if she all works. All right, guys, so I found myself a bit of a hill. Now, also be mindful that when you're applying the handbrake, it's best to pop the transmission into neutral. Again, apply the handbrake, take your foot off the brake, and there was no movement at all. All right. And also, if you're actually stopping on the slope, do the same process. Then when you put your foot back onto the brake, you can then pop it straight into park, and you're not loading up the transmission and putting the weight on the transmission. The weight is actually on the handbrake, or else you're going to do damage to your transmission. All right, foot on the brake. Let's release the handbrake, pop her into gear, and let's go. All right, and again, no noises, no squeaking. I'm actually going out for driving tomorrow with the club, with the Pajero club, so it'll definitely get a good workout tomorrow, as will the recently changed new engine mounts. So yeah, if you want to go check out the channel, I've done this extremely comprehensive video on how to change the engine mounts in Pajeros, and this will be valid for all, again, Shoguns, Monteros and Pajeros for Gen 4s from 2006 to 2021. All right, well, all is looking good. Now, for that bonus tip I mentioned at the start of the video in relation to making sure that your pads wear accordingly and actually bedding in the shoes into the drums, I'll take you through the process now. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves lined up in a straight, flat position. What the process is here now is that, so basically find a safe flat area, and what we're going to do is we're going to accelerate up to about 20 or 30 kilometers per hour, and we're going to slowly apply the handbrake while moving to create some light friction. Again, We don't want to do any handbrakies and fully lock up. We just want to apply some light friction for a few seconds. And this is going to allow the shoes to contact the drums while we're in motion. All right, so let's accelerate off and then apply the handbrake slowly. Not even going up to the first notch, okay? Take it off. All right. Now we're going to do it again. All right, do it again, accelerate, slowly apply. A few seconds, take it off. Okay, so we're going to do this about probably 5 or 6 times. So each time you do it, come to a stop. Okay, slowly accelerate to 20 or 30 kilometers per hour. Slowly apply the handbrake just for a few seconds, then release. Okay, stop again. Slowly accelerate. Slowly applying the handbrake just for a few seconds, and then let go. Stop. And then we'll do it one more time. Slowly accelerate. Slowly apply the handbrake for a few seconds, then release. Okay. Now, once you've completed that process, again, recheck the handbrake. So, yep, all good, working fine. So yeah, so that completes that process. All right, so let's go back home. Everything's looking really good. We'll just do a bit of a debrief now on everything. I'll take you through the tools, and we'll talk through just if there's any changes or any ways we would do things different. All right, let's go. All right, guys, so that completes the installation and all the testing of the handbrake shoe installation. Look, it wasn't too difficult at all. There's a few little fiddly bits to it, but like anything, just a little bit of patience and you'll get through it. So obviously pay attention in relation to the adjusting. At the end of it, I didn't go into probably a lot of detail, but it's just a little bit of toing and froing in relation to adjusting the shoes, from adjusting the cable internal in the car, and then adjusting at the actual disc itself. So sometimes it can be just a little bit of toing and froing, getting just that right balance between how far you sort of pull the handbrake back. Make sure you pay careful attention in relation to the amount of clicks and to the service manual and its specifications. I've since been notified that basically 6 to 7 clicks may be excessive. Apparently there was an update to the service manual where they were talking about maybe 3 to 4 clicks. At the end of the day, you work out, as long as the shoes don't rub when you release the handbrake, then tick tick. Okay, so I ended up having some issues in relation to the left side was adjusted perfectly, but the right side I ended up having to go back and forth a couple of times just to get it right. And that's just the painful thing, is in relation to doing that final adjustment, you actually have to take the wheel off, do the adjustment and make sure you can't hear it rubbing. Then you take it for a bit of a test drive, and if it is still rubbing, then you got to come back again, take the wheel off, do that last little adjustment, if you can't, for instance, adjust it just at the handbrake itself. So yeah, a little bit of toing and froing. So yeah, but definitely worthwhile doing. And remember, when you go and change your brakes, go to the point and actually make sure you check your handbrake shoes, okay? A lot of people, because you've got to do that extra step to get the disc off and actually remove the whole caliper and the caliper assembly, a lot of people just simply don't do it and they wait until it's too late. The handbrake shoes tend to last quite a long time. If you're forgetting to take the handbrake off and you're driving with it and so forth, you'll find you'll wear it pretty quickly. So yeah. And then tools wise, it was pretty straightforward. We're talking, a metal hammer, a mallet. We're talking, a flat screwdriver. You'll need nose pliers. You'll need normal pliers. You'll need multi-grips.
You'll need some dry brake cleaner, again some rags, a cardboard box or a little bit of a tray to put underneath for all the cleaning. Make sure you get yourself a decent scrubbing brush, whether it's a little wire one or just a normal bristle one, to sort of clean up all the gunk and so forth. And that's pretty much sort of all you need, as well as obviously the socket and the 17mm. Again, maybe a breaker bar as well, just in case it's a little bit sort of difficult to get off. Alrighty, I hope you got a lot out of it. Again, there'll be heaps and heaps more videos coming out in relation to my little baby, the Pajero. These tick all the boxes, especially for all the Gen 4s from 2006 to 2021. And if anything, if you've got other models of Pajeros, Monteros and Shoguns, I'm sure you'll get a lot out of it. There might be some little fine adjustments in relation to other different models. So yeah. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next video as per usual. Again, give us a thumbs up if you're enjoying the content. Again, if you want to shout us coffee, drop us a super thanks. Subscribe to the channel and share it around, and click on the notifications. Alright guys, see you in the next video. Cheers, bye.